Chapter 217 to 219. Acha! Sanji rolled on his spot continuously, a flame soon encircling his right leg. This is a technique Sanji learned in Enies Lobby arc, which, if evaluated by canon means, should happen in a month from now on. This showed Sanji's growth in this timeline. But does that truly matter? Sanji kicked the ground with his other leg and flew towards the 10 guards who were rushing towards him. They were just normal guards patrolling Angel Island. So, of course, they weren't as strong as the guards in Shandora. Sanji's kick fell on the face of the first guard rushing towards him, who fell back with a shriek. The other guards tried to attack Sanji, but this time, as surprising as it may sound, Usopp fired a stone at him. Auk! The guard also fell back, seeing which, Usopp smiling nervously. Sanji, I got your back! Sanji grinned. Thanks, Usopp! Kicking the ground again, he rushed towards the 7 remaining guards who surrounded him and tried to attack him from all sides, while some others rushed towards Usopp, stopping him from assisting Sanji any further. Sanji easily deflected the spear that was sent surging to his face with his leg and jumped back. They are good, these guards. Sanji shook his head. It wasn't a time he could get distracted. It was his mistake to start a fight here. He should quickly finish them and make a run. He can't possibly make his crew suffer because of him. Just then, "Oi, Sanji!" The familiar squeaky voice of his captain entered his ears. He turned to his left with a grin, seeing Luffy and Zoro dashing toward him, preparing to fight. I don't know what happened, but let's go! Yoo-hoo! People started to gather around and observe them from far. Among them, Honey Queen, Nami, and Alice were gathered. This is bad, Honey Queen muttered under her breath. Honey, you should jump in right now, Alice mumbled in her ears, causing her to almost spit on her face. Hell no! Joining them would prove that she's one of them. While the current enemies are just ants for her, even if a vice leader of any battalions have come, she'd be fucker. And she didn't even want to think about the sins. Just then, her eyes went terribly wide as she suddenly felt a strong presence rushing towards this street. Her legs lost strength as a black-haired girl appeared in the sky with flapping white wings. Amongst everyone who could have come, she cursed under her breath. It's this bitch. Oi, troublemakers. Everyone on the street looked up at the sky. The Skypieans cheered while Straw Hats frowned. From the side, Nami, seeing Honey's worried expression, deduced this as one of the worst situations they had ever been in. Sanji looked up. The girl wearing a casual, round-collared white t-shirt and short pants entered his vision. He almost lost the heat of his Diablo Jambe since heat rushed to another part of his body. Whoa, guys, look! Focus, you arrow cook! She's an enemy! At Zoro's interruption, Sanji nodded with a groan. Though it was hard for him to look away from her creamy thighs and high boots, he had to stay alert. All the guards have been defeated by Luffy and Zoro. Other guards had already reached the spot, but from what Sanji could see, they didn't approach them since they deemed it useless because of this girl. He knows this girl. After Honey Queen revealed Amon's bounty to them, the crew had asked her about the others too. She went briefly on the Sins posters. From there, Sanji saw this girl. He recalled her name was Rocky. She's beautiful, but she's an enemy. I need to prepare to dodge her attacks. He stilled his spirit. Let's wait for any male reinforcements. While Luffy was staring at Reiki, Zoro noticed Sanji's conflicting face and scoffed. Don't worry about her. From the looks of it, he eyed the twin sword in her waist. She's a swordswoman. I will take on her. No. Suddenly, Luffy talked. She's strong. Stay back, both of you. Well, well. Breaking their chattering, Reiki flew down to the ground with her hands in her pockets. Who wants to die first? Amongst the crowd, a pair of eyes stared at the fight. Cracking her knuckles. This would be fun. Looking in front of her, at the skinny guy wearing a straw hat, Rocky raised an eyebrow. He's strong for a guy with such a skinny build. Her had already seen through their power levels. Zoro and Sanji were on a pretty similar level, while Luffy was a step ahead of them. Still weak, though. She shrugged and wondered why her brother was so interested in them. Though, of course, she respected his decisions fully. She'd not kill them, not at all. Maybe break a limb or two? It's not like broken limbs don't heal, either. There was a reason as to why Rocky was so pissed. Today was the day when she's supposed to leave for the Happo Navy and start learning Hashoken there. But for some nobodies, her brother told her to stay back and ensure they don't die. She shrugged. It's his fault that he didn't specify what to do with them. Though contrary to her belief, Amon knew this would happen. He believed the Straw Hats' bullshit luck that forces them to face a tough situation to help them grow would occur here again. That's the only reason he asked Rocky to make sure they don't die. Breaking a limb or two is fine in his book. As much as he hated it, he needed Luffy to become strong somehow. He was that paranoid. She then walked towards him, Luffy, who stood in front of Zoro and Sanji. "You're their captain?" "Yeah. Wanna die?" Reiki stared at him. "This is my brother's territory. Small fries like you shouldn't be causing problems here. We have a reputation to look out for. Now die." Casually saying such a thing, Rocky kicked the ground, vanishing from Luffy's sharp eyes. "Eh?" Luffy was surprised at such speed. All the enemies he met until now were more or less close to his level. This speed reminded him of Kuro, but she was faster. He couldn't compare how much faster she was since both of them were invisible to his eye, but he could guess this girl was a few steps beyond Kuro. Luffy instinctively crossed his arms in front of him as he felt Rocky's fist rushing towards his face. Bam! A great shockwave left the impact point, causing the surrounding people to fall back. Zoro and Sanji were shocked at the strength that left the girl's fist. If her punch was this strong, why was she carrying 2 swords? Did that mean this wasn't even her full power? "Pretty weak." Commenting on this while Luffy tried his best to harden his arm's muscles to stop hurting, Rocky launched her fist back. "We should finish this." Shocking Luffy, Rocky's forearm turned black with a red hue on it. A half-transparent aura-like thing appeared around her fist as she swung her punch forward, dodging Luffy's try to block and hitting him in the stomach. Luffy felt the punch not only hitting his outside, but his insides too. He felt his stomach failing him as he almost puked the meat he ate a few hours ago. The assault didn't stop there, unfortunately. Her other fist connected with his jaws, causing his body to rise in the air. She twisted her waist and kicked his face, causing one of his teeth to jump out of his mouth. Ah! Luffy was being handled like a toddler. All happening very fast for normal eyes, though the people who could see this were shell-shocked. Zoro, Sanji, and Honey Queen realized that they've fucked up. Thud. All while Monkey D. Luffy just fell on his back with his mouth open, teeth missing, and blank eyes. This wasn't even a fight. "Woohoo! Let's go, Lady Rocky!" Ignoring the public's cheering, Rocky then turned to Zoro and Sanji. While she started to approach Sanji, Zoro suddenly jumped in front of him. Sanji looked a little shocked, but he didn't complain. "Think you're forgetting someone?" he said with 2 swords in his hands and 1 in his mouth. "I need to make sure my captain didn't lose in vain." Ignoring his speech, Rocky raised an eyebrow at Zoro. "Nice style. Let's see how well you can handle it." Rocky took out her swords, moving towards Zoro, who clenched his jaws holding his 3rd sword. There are 2 types of sword styles, light style and strong style. Light style is mostly used while fighting another sword user or fighting a small target, while strong style is made to cut mountains, ocean, and even the sun itself. It's basically made for destruction. Reiki has 2 styles, the Sky Sword style and Twin Sword style. Sky Sword is strong style, while Twin Sword style is light style. She is not the best at both, but she is better than most people who use a sword. Currently, Rocky was going for a mountain-breaking skill, contrary to her previous thoughts. She was quite interested in seeing what 3 swords can do. Purple Hockey jumped up from her swords as they went to clash with Zoro, almost creating a tornado because of the sheer pressure released by the technique. Seeing Zoro's eyes going wide in front of the pressure, Rocky almost stopped her attack since she didn't want to kill him. But before she could do so, cling! A thorny club with a trail of black lighting appeared in front of her, clashing with her swords. Reiki's eyes went slightly wider, feeling the club almost overthrowing her. She jumped back with her swords and frowned. Yo, another annoying one? She eyed the kimono-wearing female wielding the club with a dissatisfied look on her face. Hi. The other party smiled, shielding Zoro. Don't you think that much power is a bit too much for a newbie like him? Both Zoro and Rocky frowned. I was about to stop anyway. Rocky glared at her. Who are you? Oh, I am Yamato. Mind sparring a bit? For some reason, Rocky hated this girl. More so, that was advanced conqueror's hockey, right? Sparring, huh? Mind sparring a bit? Zoro frowned at the white-haired girl's words. He didn't like someone intervening in his battle, not at all. More so, the girl with snow-white hair even called him a newbie. But he gritted his teeth and endured the words of both women. He had to hold on for his captain. Luffy was so strong, but that girl defeated him so easily. Without the white-haired girls intervene, the same would have happened to him and Sanji as well. This made him recall that girl Quina, his first friend. She always thought girls were weak, he recalled. But what was this? These two girls were pure monsters. Zoro sighed. Either way. Hick. Suddenly, hearing a sobbing hick, he looked behind him, his jaws almost agape. Two beautiful women? Fighting for me? Zoro almost went unconscious, seeing Sanji's teary eyes and touched face. How can a person be so delusional? Though this served Zoro to loosen his muscles a bit. While the black-haired girl was strong, the white-haired one seemed to be a step ahead. If she was truly taking their side, this meant they now had a chance to escape. You want to spar? Bitch, do you even know where you're standing right now? Rocky stared at the girl, the annoyance clear in her eyes. She could see her power level, but that only served to annoy her even more. Oh, I am just curious. I have heard about you before, you see. The girl, who called herself Yamato, stated, completely fine with being called a bitch. From the look in your eyes, you seem to be wanting to fight me too. At this, Rocky's annoyance changed to a smirk. Just because you have Conqueror's coding, you think you're some big shot? Yamato shrugged. Reiki snickered. Okay, fine, let's do it your way then. Again, Purple Hockey jumped out of her swords, while a half-transparent aura encircled it. Let me show I will one-shot you. Yamato curled her lips upwards and coated her own weapon, the spiky club, with Conqueror's Hockey. An aura of black lightning surrounded it. They both jumped back into a distance. Then, kicking the ground, they rushed towards each other, causing wind to rise and killing intent to cover the whole area. Being under such pressure, some of the spectators almost fell on their knees and backed off, giving the two monsters some space. Both girls had a grin on their faces, as both their weapons were about to clash with each other. But just then, purple lightning crackled between them. Psst. Before they could clash with each other, from the sky, an L-Thor of purple lightning slammed to the ground with a huge rumble in the sky, barely avoiding Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy. Boom! From the sky, the figure of an annoyed Amon appeared with a dissatisfied look on his face. Looks like his plan was too laid back since he didn't consider the other possibilities. From far, atop of a tower, a small automata, Short Motor heaved a relieved sigh. Phew, he came at the right time. Luckily, I managed to send the electrical signal just in time, just like last time with Big Mom. If not for him, wouldn't all the spectators have died? As much as he loved his queen, it was still stupid for Rocky to start fighting such a strong person whose strength was confirmed by her. Later, Luffy abruptly opened his eyes and jumped up on his feet. "Where are you, woman?" he yelled, to which he heard a groan from behind. Looking back, he found Zoro standing up with the help of his sword. "Zoro! Where did that girl go?" Luffy cried. "We are in a different place than before, too." Zoro stood up, rubbing his head. His eyes wandered around the place he was in. It was a huge, white hall. It seemed to be like a training hall. Pretty dope, he thought. Stopping his gaze at a corner of the room, he talked. "You're right, Luffy. Though there seems to be someone who knows that answer." His eyes locked on the tanned-skinned man sitting on the chair at the left corner of the hall while polishing the spear in his hands. Luffy turned to the corner and also noticed him, a smile forming on his face. "Oi, you! Mind helping us a bit?" The guy, noticing the call, got up and walked closer. "Oh, you guys are up?" He smiled. "I am Wiper. You see, the annoying guy who I work for asked me to beat you too hard while making sure you don't die." His smile turned sadistic. "So, when do you want to start?" After the initial surprise, Luffy and Zoro exchanged glances as they prepared their fighting stance. At the same time, Sanji's eyelids twitched as he slowly opened them. Putting a hand on his forehead and rubbing it, he groaned. He had a headache. The last thing he recalled was seeing a purple beam of lighting hitting the two girls in front of him. The beam didn't reach him nor Zoro, so he was confused at what exactly knocked them out. It was as if my spirit was being crushed by something. Suddenly, "Ah, Sanji, you're up." Sanji frowned. Whose voice was that? He turned to his left as his eyes went wide. Wearing a white shirt with a pink ribbon on the collar, she had plump pink lips along with pink hair that had a bang covering one of her eyes. In the single eye that was visible, the brows that he started at looked just like his own. The girl smiled at him and picked up a bowl of soup from the table behind her. "Reiju." His voice was filled with disbelief. The girl smiled. "So you do recognize me? I guess the hate you have for us is that strong?" Sanji's body trembled. One of the main reasons he got angry when he learned that Big Mom's daughters were being used as prostitutes was her, Reiju, his older sister. Since Big Mom's daughters were being used like that, what guaranteed that Reiju wasn't going through the same fate? After all, she was also Amon's enemy. The sheer possibility of that angered him to his core. But now, You look shocked." She seemed fine. She walked closer to him and sat down in the bed he was laying on. "I was surprised when I learned you became a pirate, but I assume you finally found something to put your passion in other than cooking, though I am again surprised to find you here, in Skypea." Sanji stared. Her tone was normal. No, it was sweeter than he recalled from the past. Has she changed over time? Has she regained some of her emotions by being in this place? On a side note, she was holding a bowl of soup. Is she going to feed him? The next second, she put the bowl down on the small table beside the bed. Well, I would have liked to feed you, but you see, Amon would probably hate me feeding another man, even if it's you. He's obsessive like that, heh. Sanji clenched his fist, feeling something strange. His sister was fine, even joking with him. Did that mean everything he was scared of before was just a fantasy of his? Did that mean she was enjoying a satisfying life here? Sanji was in a dilemma, though he would never know that a brainwashed person is always satisfied. In another room, Nami, the cat burglar's eyes twitched similar to Sanji as they parted open, letting light invade her eyes. Opening her eyes, she realized the light was different than usual. It had a golden shine to it. How can light be golden? Isn't it already present in that color? She wondered. The first thing she realized after that was that she had gone unconscious by a strange power, most likely a devil fruit. And now she was here, in this room. Looking around, she found that the room only has one bed where she was laid. So, were the straw huts separated by one room, or did something else happen? She didn't want to think of the worst and got up, walking to the window in the room. Walking by the window, Nami's eyes widened under the blinding golden shine as she felt losing strength on her legs. Whoa! In front of her was a city, a golden city. Houses and skyscrapers, coffee shops and restaurants, streetlights and cars. Everywhere her eyes went to was gold. Everything was made of gold? Except for the trees and the black street. Everywhere her eyes went, everything she could see was made of gold. So this is the famous City of Gold? She thought that was just a myth, but she was seeing it with her own two eyes. Nami felt her heartbeat rising, her hands shaking while her eyes shined with extreme greed. Careful now. Suddenly a hand fell on her shoulder. The guy ruling this place is an omniscient god. I am sure you wouldn't want him to sense your thoughts. Nami froze as a trail of nervous sweat dripped down from her head. She turned to her left slowly, meeting eyes with Honey Queen. Ah. Nami released a breath she didn't know she was holding. You almost scared me to death, honey. Honey Queen laughed it off. Yeah, I guess. Though I was not lying. That guy is omniscient. At least I believe he is. Nami had a tense look on her face at this. She trusted Honey Queen's words a lot. If a strong woman like Honey was saying something with such conviction, that must be true. Honey laughed at this. Don't worry too much. I am sure he hears those types of thoughts every day. After all, who wouldn't feel greed seeing such a beautiful spectacle? Nami nodded slowly while Honey asked herself, who wouldn't? Honey Queen looked outside the window with a distant gaze. There was a time when she would have felt greed at this too. But now, mortal desires like greed was barely inside her. She guessed that's what happens when a person gets directly trained by Amon. He clearly wouldn't want greedy people under him. Or maybe she was different because she is an undercover agent. On second thought, the latter seemed more plausible. Anyway, Honey Queen giggled, it looks like most of us are up. We should leave quickly before the Sky Emperor changes his mind. Nami looked at her. He is allowing us to leave even though we caused problems in his territory? Honey Queen smiled nervously. Well, she sighed. We are certainly lucky, but we did have to pay something for it. Both Zoro and Luffy's left legs were broken as a punishment, but I am sure you can tell this can't even be considered a punishment. After a slight shock that came from the fact that the strongest of her crew lost, most likely without even giving a proper fight, Nami thinned her lips and nodded. At least now Sanji would think twice before doing something like this later on. Meanwhile, above Giant Jack, Amon was sitting on a chair with his legs crossed while looking down in front of him. In front of him, Rocky and Yamato were on their knees with their hands tied behind them with sea stone shackles. Why am I tied? It's her fault. She started the fight. Rocky complained, frowning. I just wanted to fight. I was curious. Yamato mumbled, looking at Amon with a shameful face. She did what she said she wouldn't, causing problems in his territory, more so in his base. Amon shook his head and started calculating how he can make this situation useful to him. Straw Hats got the fight he wanted them to have, even if the one fighting them has changed, so this wasn't that big of a problem. More so, he can always use Yamato. He has many uses for a strong female such as her. Last time, he didn't have many options in his hand other than asking her to stay out of the war. But after she dared to do what she said she wouldn't, a lot more options have been opened in front of him. Meanwhile, Zoro and Luffy were in the Going Merry, sitting on the deck with bandages wrapped around their whole body and plaster on both their left legs. Luffy looked at Zoro funny. Zoro, these people are really strong. And weird. Yeah, that too. Luffy nodded. They first beat us up, then they helped us bandage ourselves." He frowned. "Though that doesn't mean I wouldn't kick their asses the next time we meet." Luffy growled while Zoro made a sharp frown. He also agreed. Then Zoro yawned and fell on his back. "Do whatever you want. I just want to fight that girl. I am gonna sleep." "Bye. I will wait for the others." Saying so, Luffy got up and walked to the kitchen to fetch some food. Luffy would have usually been in a serious mood after getting beaten like this, but these guys didn't endanger his crew and were only minding their business. More so, since they even let his friends go without doing anything, he didn't mind a reality check beating. This beating was enough for him to realize how strong people were in this world. He didn't understand how dangerous it is yet. But hopefully, Marineford would teach him that. Though that's considering he even gets to reach Marineford this time around. Soon, he started to empty the fridge just when Sanji came and pulled him out. "Giant Jack. So, what now?" Reiki mumbled while looking at Amon with nervous eyes. "What if he doesn't let her go to Happo Navy anymore? Then she won't be able to learn Hashoken." Amon had a judging frown on his face while he stared at both her and the white-haired bitch beside her. "Reiki," Amon pointed at her. "I will deal with you later. I would like to first talk to Miss Yamato." This caused Raki to groan. Now this bitch was stealing her spotlight too? Meanwhile, Yamato simply smiled wryly. "Say, how about you join me, my kingdom or crew, whatever you want to call it?" Amon's words caught Yamato off guard, while Raki gave him a narrowed eyes look, which he ignored. "You want me to join you?" Yamato was kind of confused. "You know you only gave me back the diary to make up with Kaido. But if you now make one of Kaido's strongest troops, aka me, join you, then that previous action would be worthless. Not only would he come after me for betraying him, he'd also come after you as well." Amon smirked at this. "Good point. But at the very least, I'd have a strong commander, aka you, in my army by then. You said you'd kill Kaido, right? I can help you with that, which would be easier if he does come after me. I am sure you realize just how many ways the elimination of another emperor would benefit me." Yamato frowned at this. As much as she wanted to kill Kaido, she didn't like talking about it like this with another emperor. Yamato shook her head at this. "The main reason why I wanted to leave Onigashima was to travel the world. But joining you would cause me to stay in Skypia forever. Even if I do get to go out for missions, I wouldn't be able to call them my adventure." Amon gave her a mild smile. "If that's indeed the case, you can leave when the 9 red scabbards appear in Wano." Yamato's eyes widened at this. How did he? "If you have forgotten already, I did read the diary, and along with the information I get from my spy in Wano, it's not hard to connect the dots." Yamato's mouth was agape. "You have a spy in Wano? In fact, she's a higher officer of Kaido's army." Seeing his smile, a calculating look appeared on Yamato's face. "Wait, she? Is it Black Maria or Ulti?" "Wait, oops," Amon bit his lips. "Did I say she? I meant he." A large frown appeared on her face. He was just playing with her, this guy. Now she couldn't even guess who it was. Even in her wildest dream, she couldn't know that it's Rio the Eruption, the second strongest in Beast's pirates after Kaido. "So decide quickly. I am a bit busy, you see. Or would you like some time? I can leave Rocky to look after you." "Oi!" Rocky refused at once while Yamato started to think. There were a few things to consider here. First, she would be under him, an emperor who made a good first impression on her. Second, if she refused, she isn't sure what had happened to her, since even if the man did leave a good first impression, he was still one of the most ruthless pirates in the world. "Okay." She took a breath and nodded. "I don't mind, as long as I'm not asked to do something too outrageous." "Like what? Sex?" Reiki suddenly asked. "You think he'd not demand that?" While Amon deadpanned, Yamato tilted her head. What's sex? No. What is it? Reiki started laughing and fell on her back while Amon shrugged. He didn't have time for this shit. Yamato was grown like a barbarian, so it wasn't impossible to accept her state. He sighed. Okay, stop, you two. He sighed while both the girls stopped. Then, Miss Yamato, I can't make you a sin since you're a temporary member, so I'd just make you work directly under me. You don't have any specific job, just follow whatever is being thrown at you for now. Amon wanted Yamato in his crew for 2 reasons. 1, she'd be of great help in Marineford. 2, she is a must for Judge's experiment. That day when he took Yamato away from Ace, he took a sample of her blood when she was unconscious. After testing it, it indeed matched with the Oars and Moria's DNA, so that was enough proof that she is an Oni, thus making Kaido one as well. In this case, having a real living and walking Oni would help the experiment a lot. Amon stood up. For now, if you don't mind, I'd like a bit of help with a research of mine. Amon looked at her leisurely. Reiki, lead her to the lab. Nearly half a month the repair of Pluton was done. It was a good time. Vivi hugged him one last time before kissing him in the cheeks. We finally got to spend some alone time together after our marriage. Can I consider this as our honeymoon? Amon nodded. If you want. Vivi's happiness was apparent in her smile as she giggled and stepped back. Now then, I guess it's time for you to leave. She waved her hand. We will see each other again when? Amon smiled. A month? Yeah, kinda that time. Blackbeard has just been crowned a Shichibukai, thus filling the 7 warlords' seats again. Along with Marshal D. Teach, the other warlords were Mihawk, Doflamingo, Jinbei, Kuma, Gaspard, and Mad Treasure. Vivi then waved her hand again as Amon teleported away, his last thought being, it's finally the time to go through the surgery.